Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about Batman. But not just any Batman, specifically the two Tim Burton Batman films. Because personally, I really love what Tim Burton did when it came to adapting Batman onto the big screen. And if you like watching me review comic book movies, then you should definitely subscribe to the channel to see more of that. So let's start with Batman 1989. One of the many things that both of the movies do very well is the way that Gotham City looks. It's probably one of the coolest looking Gotham cities that there ever has been, and it truly does feel like we're stepping into a world that's very much different from our own. Another thing I really loved about the first movie is that Batman's treated like an urban legend, like a myth, so it makes it a lot more impactful when the villains actually come into contact with him. And I think Michael Keaton does a really good job portraying the character. His Batman gives off very menacing vibes while also being a little bit goofy with some of his facial expressions. And I personally think Michael Keaton has one of the best Batman suits of all time. And while it is obvious that he is having a hard time moving in the suit because he physically can't turn his head while wearing the suit, they shoot the movie and fight scenes in a way to where it looks less awkward than it actually is, with really creative lighting and atmosphere, which I think was a smart decision for this movie. Michael Keaton also does a very good job playing Bruce Wayne. I like that his Bruce Wayne personality is much more calm and subtle, not really like giving off the vibes of a playboy billionaire, but more so a quiet billionaire. But this movie's biggest strength is easily Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Jack Nicholson gives one of the best Joker performances of all time, and he's easily the most memorable thing about this movie. I think it's really cool that they focus in on the fact that Joker is the new mob boss of Gotham, and I also love the fact that his smile is a result of a botched plastic surgery. It makes his appearance even more uncanny and unsettling when you actually know the reason behind why he's smiling constantly. And him and Michael Keaton have perfect chemistry on screen. You really feel the sense of hatred that these two characters have for each other. And I love for how a majority of the film, Batman's just trying to figure out who the hell this guy even is, while the Joker is completely jealous of the fact that Batman gets covered by the press constantly, so he just does insane shit to get his name out there and to get people to actually pay attention to him, which I think is really funny. My final positive before getting into my negatives with this movie is that I think this movie has one of the greatest Batmobiles we've ever seen in live action. They absolutely fucking cooked when making this design, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Moving on though, one of the major negatives I actually have for both of these movies is the fact that Batman breaks his no-kill rule constantly. And there are moments where he does say, "Oh, I'm not gonna kill you," but then there's other moments where he straight up just kills people, and you can't expect me to believe they actually survived what he did to them. And that actually ties into my next negative with the first movie. I don't like the fact that they made the Joker the killer of Batman's parents in this continuity. I understand wanting to make our heroes hate the villains even more than they already do, but this was just not the way to go about it. It takes away all the mystery of who killed Batman's parents, and it just comes off very forced in my own opinion. But even with all of that, Batman 1989 is still a good Batman movie, and still holds up to this very day. I really do love what Tim Burton does with the Batman universe, having it lean into its more horror elements while also having a bunch of that classic Tim Burton imagery and just overall strange vibes, and you have one of the coolest and most unique takes on the Batman mythos that we've ever seen, and it only gets better in Batman Returns. So Batman Returns actually has multiple villains, but it has a very strong focus on Danny DeVito's The Penguin. And this time, instead of Penguin being a grounded mob boss or something like that, Penguin was a deformed child who was abandoned by his family and thrown into the sewers and then was raised by penguins? Yeah, don't question it. Also, Batman Returns takes place during Christmas time, which makes the movie even better. Also, Gotham just looks really good in the snow. But getting back to the story here, we follow this guy named Max Schreck, who is your typical evil billionaire, and is also the reason for the Penguin starting all of his chaos and havoc through Gotham City, and for Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Penguin basically blackmails Max Schreck in order to get up to the surface world because he's tired of living in the sewer. He wants to be accepted by Gotham as a normal human being, just like everybody else, but he also wants to find out who his parents were. And I think it's really cool how the Penguin and Batman kind of mirror each other in this movie, because Batman had his parents taken from him, while the Penguin was abandoned by his parents. And having these two characters both have tragic upbringings makes their interactions even more special in my opinion. And much like the Joker, I think Danny DeVito is the best part about this movie. His version of Penguin is not only grotesque and vile, but also super hilarious. And we get one of the best scenes in the movie from him.
Just the pussy I've been looking for.
But now let's talk about Catwoman. Starting off with the costume, I really like this look for Catwoman. It's the perfect stitched together, thrown together look, and it's one of the coolest homemade suits I've ever seen in a comic book movie, in my own personal opinion. I also think Michelle Pfeiffer does a fantastic job portraying the character. I like that Catwoman is seen as weak when she's a secretary in the beginning, but coming back as Catwoman has made her a much stronger person. Also, the scene where Catwoman is literally brought back to life by cats is so goofy, I love it. I also really liked the dynamic between Catwoman and Batman in this movie. I love seeing their relationship develop throughout the film, and I also really like how they both relate to each other because of the fact that they both lead double lives. And there's a really great scene where Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne are at a dance together, and they really find out who they truly are. She discovers the fact that he is Batman, and he discovers the fact that she is this Catwoman that's been attacking him this entire time. And there's a really great moment where she basically says to Bruce, "Do we have to fight now?" It's that kind of will they won't they tragic romance that I think really makes their relationship so compelling in this film. And this is made even better in the final act when Batman goes to stop the Penguin. Selina goes there to take her revenge on Max Schreck, who was kidnapped by Penguin. And Batman desperately pleads for Selina not to go through with this and to just have Max Lord be arrested by the police. And it's a really great and emotional scene because you can very much tell that Batman really doesn't want her to go through with this. But we obviously know what ends up happening. And that about wraps up my thoughts on the Tim Burton Batman films. Looking back at these movies, I have a much bigger appreciation for them than I ever did before. Tim Burton really brought something unique to the table when it comes to adapting Batman stories, and we're most likely never going to get to see his creative vision on a Batman project again, thanks to failed McDonald's toy sales, which is really depressing to think about. But thank you for watching, everyone. I'll see you in whatever my next project is.